Hello friends, I'm Chevee. Welcome to my shed. How are you today? I hope you're doing well. I hope everything is good for you, and I hope you do not have this respiratory bullcrap, because I feel like I'm going to be dealing with this for a while. It is what it is, I guess. And my Jamie, and now the oldest, Alina, has a stomach issue. So one of the thrills of having young children is sickness that circulates schools, and then I work in the schools, so it's like I cover, a large area. I come in contact with all of the germs. But that's not what we're here to talk about. Today I wanted to talk to you about 3D printing because I have put myself in and out of the market for 3D printing for the last, 3 years or whatever, however long 3D printing has been a thing. On one hand, I see it as a really useful tool. And I look at a lot of the tools that I own that I don't use often, and they might cost hundreds of dollars, and they sit, but when I need them, they're there. Then there's the 3D printing, and this is the angle that I'm coming at. I have some things that I could use a printer for. For instance, my compressor. Let's see if I can get this out of here. I don't want to turn it on. My compressor has a switch, and the little knob broke years ago. And I have it kind of hacked together. I've had to fix it a few times. And it would be so simple to just model and print in 3D because you can't get the little plastic knob. I can get the whole switch assembly for like $100. But I don't need the whole switch assembly. I just need the little plastic knob. It has like a little paddle on it. So if I could get a 3D printer that could print probably ABS, I don't think PLA could handle that, then I could make that part. And so there's, the way I justify this stuff to myself is like, there's $100 off the price tag already, because I can't get that part for less than $100. So we'll take $100 off the price tag at the 3D printer. The projects like the light ring that I made for my computer monitor, it's got a little DC buck converter that I just screwed to the face frame. It would be nice to print a case to put that in. It'd be much easier than trying to do a small wooden enclosure. Or even I used plastic heat shrink as standoffs on that board. So I put a little tiny piece of heat shrink under it, put the screw down through it as a standoff. I could have 3D printed that as washers. So there's always those little things like that. Like, yeah, you could make something that, you need that's broken, and you could fix it. And most of the time when I look at tools, that's how I look at them. And then I try to justify the expense. And in the case of 3D printing, it's still pretty expensive. There are $200 printers that are okay, but they're small. They're going to print a very small thing. Now, that being said, I don't know what I would want to print that isn't small, right? Like, we're talking about little plastic components. And so that's why I wanted to ask your opinion. Every time I see somebody mention 3D printing, I'm like, cool, what do you make? I make like rings and keychains, and I'm thinking I don't really give a crap about rings and keychains. I don't for my daughters, sure. I know that if a 3D printer comes into this house, we're gonna have to get some pink filament, and we're gonna make some girly stuff, and I'm perfectly fine with that. And maybe that is a justification of its own, that I can teach them about 3D modeling and 3D printing and manufacturing and additive versus subtractive manufacturing, stuff like that. So it's a good tool to learn with. But for me, I don't have $200 to just go buy a 3D printer for the heck of it to play with. And I would much rather buy, if I'm going to buy a 3D printer, I would much rather buy something that's not a budget 3D printer and buy something that's actually going to function for me. And then we're talking, $1,000, I don't know, way more money than I currently have available. So it's something I have to budget towards. But unfortunately, I'm just not sure what I would use the dang thing for, other than these trinkets or these little parts. So that's why I asked you. And I got quite a few responses. People are pretty passionate about 3D printing it, and I think that that's good. People are passionate about promoting 3D printing. Let me say it that way. because they use it, you know, for hobbies or whatever. They want other people to get excited about it, because the more people get excited about it, you know, what's it called when you have economies of scale? Yeah, yeah, yeah. You're welcome. Yeah, yeah. Thank you. Yeah, I remember words every now and then. Economies of scale say that, you know, we can get less expensive printers. Stop asking me to rate your crap. We can get less expensive printers because more people buy them. So I wanted to see what your thoughts were. A lot of the people who responded, of course, know me from board gaming. So Jay Spear said, it seems like it could have an effect on the board game industry. Replacement parts or digital downloads of components or pirated games with counterfeit components. Sure, lots of products have cool little components. And in fact, you know, here's some miniatures from one of our games, Cry Havoc. I suppose that you could 3D print something like this. It probably wouldn't be this detailed, but you could make different models and spice up your games that way. Or you could replace generic wooden components with nice components like that. Yeah, that's definitely one thing. And along that same vein, Richard Miles sent along a Kickstarter campaign that said they can bring a flat board game to life. And that's true. This Kickstarter campaign is targeted towards people who want to like get involved in essentially open sourcing a set of components that can be used to make board games 3D. That's neat. Epic Sauce said, at least on your end, I think laser cutting is where it's at. And I'm glad you said that, because I think we were going to, you know, I was going to segue there. You can print out basic stuff on regular paper or cut or etch thin wood or even cardboard, make bits for prototypes like the dice I gave you at Gen Con. Yes, these dice, which I showed way back when, were given to me by Nugget Games dice. And these are laser cut. And this, I definitely could find uses for. Absolutely. But laser cutting is significantly more expensive than 3D printing. On the front end. On the back end, 3D printing still has all the plastic. On the front end, though, it's laser cutters are expensive. But they're also way more precise. Okay. Some other answers. Maui Chris said that this guy, I'm not even going to try and say that, Koenig Seg 3D prints the exhaust system on his cars out of titanium. Yeah, well, that is out of my reach, Chris. I was talking like PLA and ABS printing. More realistic for us, though, I'd like to see a future where we can purchase the designs for minis, board games again, and print them ourselves. I'd also like to be able to use materials more than just plastic. Nothing too crazy, but epoxy or other stronger materials and still be affordable. There are other materials. I mean, they're basically other materials embedded in plastic so they can be ran through. There's like a wood-based filament. You can get some that are like aluminum-based or have copper in them so they're conductive. There are options. But they're really expensive. There's even like flexible rubbers you can get, but they're very expensive. And filament, PLA filament's not that expensive. Neither is ABS for that matter. But when you're talking about making something larger than a trinket, yeah, you know, I watch a lot of makers on YouTube, and one of them is X Robots, James Brunton or Bruton. I don't know which way it is. Anyway, James makes frickin' walking robots on 3D printers. I'm talking like he's working on an Ultron project right now, and this Ultron is like life-size, big Ultron, all 3D printed with gears and motors and stuff. And that's amazing to me. That's also something I'm never going to do. Like that would be all of my time invested, and I have a job and the show, you know, so it's like that's not my interest is to trying to print something like that. But I have another friend that I watch a lot, and I like to make stuff, Bob, and he recently did the Shore Trooper helmet from Star Wars on his 3D printers. And you basically print a small piece, and then put them together to make the big piece. And it turns out really well. And so that's a possibility for me. I'm not sure how much I would do that, but we had... Oh, I thought we had a comment on that. We did. I didn't copy it. But it was talking about making lightsabers and props and stuff like that. That could be fun. I've never been one to collect props, but who knows? Maybe I could get into it and use it. Carpo719, along the car thing, said, it's the future of small gaskets. Would save on auto parts. That's actually thoughtful. Not that I think that you're going to make a gasket out of PLA plastic, because that's just not going to work, or ABS plastic. That's just not going to work. But there might be filaments that will do gasket material. But just for things like washers, I'm always looking for weird washers, and not anything that needs to be structural. Just for like a small project where I have a tiny screw and soft material, I'd like to have a washer behind it. I could print little, bushings and washers and standoffs, like I was saying earlier. That's actually a good argument for me to purchase one. So, and then even I could look at a budget-sized printer because that's all I'm not looking for. I don't need to have perfect scan lines or anything like that. Coma said, it depends on the type of your planned projects. I've read somewhere that you could also do some design stuff like fashion jewelry, artistic things, and don't judge me, I'm thinking like a female. That's funny because we have talked about teaching 3D printing at work through the school systems, and my boss, her when I said we should get a 3D printer to mess with, her thoughts were, can it make shoes? Like, that's all can you print me shoes? Like, sure, if that'll get you to buy me a 3D printer at work. I personally wouldn't want one because I wouldn't know what to do with it. And that's very similar to where I was at when I started this conversation. Maybe I've changed gears now just reading these comments. But, what do you do with this thing once you have it? Like, again, I'm not going to make the props or the robots or anything crazy, but I might have fun making small miniatures for board games or board game pieces. I might find a new hobby, essentially, a manufacturing hobby in 3D modeling and printing. So it's definitely something I want to consider more, especially if I have some indiscretionary funds in the future, which, who knows, right? Like, if the time capsule video goes hot again, then maybe I'll buy a 3D printer. It bought me this lens, essentially, so that's cool. Well, not this lens, the other lens. Anyway. I rather draw things and than mold anything, but I guess you'd also create little figurines for board games. See, everybody went back to this board game thing. It is a good idea, don't get me wrong. Though I guess these suggestions count as little trinkets, so never mind. Maybe just bear in mind the cost of material and so forth and simply go for it. So, yeah, I think, so now that I've read your comments, which I don't do before I turn the camera on, I think I can justify it. I would like to have a 3D printer. I just have to find the right one. So if you want to help me on that quest, feel free to in the comments down below. I've been looking at the Monoprice Mini Select. It's like $199. It has a very small print bed, like 6 inches by 6 inches, but it's heated, which allows me to do ABS, which is important for strength. And that really looks good to me. There's also a kit currently on eBay for like $160, and I've seen quite a few of them put together, and they actually look really nice and function very well. So that might be an option also, and I can do a video on the kit. I don't know, though. I'm also looking at higher end prices. So I'm going to keep this churning. Again, if you want to help me find... a printer, let me know about that in the comments. Tomorrow's topic, I want to talk about sound dampening. In the room where I'm doing the game recording, the camera is sitting right against the wall with monitors right in front of it, and then me, and I'm getting some room sound that is unpleasant. I'm going to do it that way. So my plan is to put some foam behind the camera so that any sound that I'm projecting into the wall that's coming back and forth, it's going to eat the top end of that sound because it's really annoying. If you know anything about acoustic foam, acoustic dampening, please let's talk about that in the comments down below so that I can come tomorrow prepared for a topic that seems to trigger a lot of people. I hate this respiratory infection. So, thank you very much, as always, for being here. I really do appreciate it. I love having you guys here every day. Thank you for all of the wonderful comments. Please leave some for tomorrow. If you have any suggestions for future topics, those can go down below as well. Don't forget, the call-in line is always available, 304-602-7433. Call in and talk about whatever. It doesn't have to be about the day's topic. Yeah, thank you for being here, liking, commenting, subscribing, sharing. I'll see you tomorrow.
Hey, Doc, wait! I want to ask you something.
Today's random fact comes from NorthShoreInfo.com. How many gallons of water are in Lake Superior? In the area west of Marquette, Michigan, water volume, I don't even know what that number is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sets of zeros and a 3. Gazillion? I don't know. Is that a number? Gallons of 440 trillion cubic feet. 10% of the world's fresh water, enough to flood North and South America, the entire continents, 1 foot deep. What?